All right, so this is going to be the sheet, not the sheet, the human heart lab recording. The sheet part is what we'll do in the second part of the lab on the heart. So here you have colored versions of the paper copy in your packet. So you'll need to have them printed so you can label them as we go, or which would be the best, because you'll have to turn in the labeled versions. That's part of your grade. All right, so as we look at the picture, and yes, you may have to blow these up to make sure that you can see what I'm pointing to. All right, now your list is in the order of the blood flow through the heart. Some of these you can't see in all of the diagrams. So if we start here, we have the superior vena cava. It goes from here down to this edge here. We have the inferior vena cava, which goes up behind and has its own opening into the atrium. Now your next structure is not visible in this diagram. And that's the coronary sinus. But it's the third vessel that empties into the right atrium. This is the right atrium. All of this space from up here down to this edge. There are pockets because the surface of the atrium is not flat. It's irregular shape. There are pockets. You'll also hear the term auricle. An auricle is a component of the atrium. Then the blood is going to go down through the tricuspid valve, which is this white flat area. And goes into this space, which is the right ventricle. Then the blood goes through the pulmonary valve into the pulmonary trunk. The blood then goes into the pulmonary arteries. This is the one going to the left side. The right one is going to go behind the aorta, behind the superior vena cava, and emerge over here. Both of the pulmonary arteries, both sides pulmonary arteries, are going to dump into the lungs. Then the blood is going to come back from the lungs via the pulmonary veins. So pulmonary veins are these red tubes coming back from the lungs. Sorry. the pulmonary veins empty into the left atrium, which is this chamber. That the blood then passes through the bicuspid or mitral valve, which is this flat. All of this is the left ventricle. Notice it's closest to the apex. Then the blood goes into or through the aortic valve, which you can see a little bit of here. It's deep, and that leads to the aorta and the aortic arch. In addition, sorry. Okay, so in addition to those structures, you can also see the three that are over towards the end of the list. The papillary muscles are these white strings that you see, or those are the tendinous cords. I'm sorry. The papillary muscles are these protrusions here. Now, sometimes these protrusions are going to be bulges on the side of the wall of the ventricle rather than a single narrow protrusion. Okay. And then here in between the two ventricles, you have, oops, the interventricular septum. So it's the two walls of the ventricles right next to each other. So externally, we again have the superior vena cava, inferior vena cava. Again, we can't see the coronary sinus. All of this would be the right atrium. And this flap is what they call the right auricle. The blood goes down into the right ventricle. Then it goes up and it's going to wind up going through the pulmonary trunk. Now they've cut a section of the pulmonary trunk out so that you can see some coronary arteries. Pulmonary arteries, they're always going to be superior. Pulmonary veins are inferior. Pulmonary veins empty into the left atrium. You can see the left auricle here. It's a flap and they're lifting it up. And that goes down into the left ventricle. Again, apex tells you where the left ventricle is. And then the blood's going to go up through the ascending aorta and the aortic arch. Branching off of the aorta, you have the right coronary artery, which is going to wrap around to the posterior surface of the heart. You have the left coronary artery, which is going to come down here. And then you have a branch coming off of that, and that's the circumflex artery. It wraps around to the posterior surface. Next to the left coronary artery is this blue tube, and that is the great cardiac vein. And it's going to also loop around to the posterior side, right next to the circumflex artery. Okay. On the posterior surface, you can see the inferior vena cava, superior vena cava, oops. Try that again. The superior vena cava, the inferior vena cava, and this is the coronary sinus. And it continues over here and goes behind the inferior vena cava. All three of them empty into the right atrium. And that'll help you with one of your pathways assignments questions. There are three things that empty into the right atrium: superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, and coronary sinus. Right atrium, that's going to dump into the right ventricle. That goes into the pulmonary trunk, which you can't see, but you can see the pulmonary arteries. Again, they're always going to be superior. Goes to the blood, goes to the lungs, and comes back through the pulmonary veins. You can see the four of them. They converge into the left atrium. This is the left auricle of the left atrium. That empties into the left ventricle. Again, apex tells you that's the left side. And then the blood's going to come up through the ascending aorta to the aortic arch. Here we see some more of the circumflex artery and part of that great cardiac vein. This is the middle cardiac vein, which now for some unknown reason they're calling the posterior interventricular vein. It empties into the coronary sinus, which we already labeled. Here you can see branching off of the right coronary artery coming from the anterior surface. And so that gets you the parts of the human heart. In addition to diagrams, you also have photographs of models. This is called the Heart of America model, anterior, posterior view, and then some internal views. So, aortic arch, ascending aorta, superior vena cava. You can't see the inferior vena cava, but that goes into the right atrium. Right atrium leads to the right ventricle, which is going to the blood's going to wind up in the pulmonary trunk and branch into the pulmonary arteries. You can't see the other pulmonary artery from this view. Then the blood's going to come back through the pulmonary veins, which are inferior, into the left atrium, down into the left ventricle. Again, apex tells you where the left ventricle is. And then the blood goes up through the aortic, ascending aorta and the aortic arch. You can also see the right coronary artery. Or no, that's the left coronary artery, sorry. The right coronary artery is way over here. It comes through here. You just can't see all of it. The circumflex artery and the great cardiac vein. Posterior view, you have superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, so they cut it off really short. The right atrium, right ventricle. You don't see the pulmonary vessels because they cut them short, pulmonary arteries anyway. Pulmonary veins into the left atrium, pulmonary vein goes down into the left ventricle. And then this would be part of that aortic arch. And this is part of the thoracic aorta, which is on your blood vessel list. You can see the coronary sinus, which empties into the right atrium, and the middle cardiac vein, a little bit of the circumflex artery. This shows the inside of the right atrium. This gives you a better view of that right coronary artery attached to the ascending aorta, the pulmonary trunk, pulmonary valve, tricuspid valve. You can see the tendinous cords and the papillary muscle. You don't get to see much of a interventricular septum, but you can see the middle or the great cardiac vein and the left coronary artery. Over here, you see the inside of the right atrium, the bicuspid valve, and then the aortic valve way up there in the middle. So in the model, it's harder to see the aortic valve. Again, great cardiac vein, left coronary artery. Another heart model, you have the superior vena cava, right atrium, right ventricle, pulmonary trunk, pulmonary arteries, pulmonary veins, left ventricle or left atrium, left ventricle, again the apex, ascending aorta, aortic arch, the right coronary artery, left coronary artery, great cardiac vein, circumflex artery, inferior vena cava, superior vena cava, coronary sinus, empty into the right atrium, goes down to the right ventricle. You can see part of the pulmonary arteries, pulmonary veins going into the left atrium, which go down to the left ventricle. And you can see a little bit of that aortic arch. You don't get to see much of that circumflex artery from this side, but you can see the middle cardiac vein. And no, I don't care which way you refer to it. Internally, you can see the right atrium and that superior vena cava, the tricuspid valve, tendinous cords, papillary muscles. All of this space would be the right ventricle, pulmonary valve, pulmonary trunk, pulmonary arteries, pulmonary veins, left atrium, bicuspid or mitral valve, the flat area, again, tendinous cords, papillary muscle, left ventricle, aortic valve, ascending aorta, aortic arch. Again, apex tells you where the left side of the heart is. Okay, so that's the end of part A over the human heart. Don't forget to go back over these. Don't forget you can make these bigger inside. To look closer at these. So you have control of that.